The digital age has brought us all closer together. The online world allows people all over the world access to information and opportunities like never before. I am constantly amazed how the digital age continues to level the playing field for the global population. I take for granted, living in the United States, everything I have access to. But for those living in third world countries, access to both the information and the opportunities just wasn't possible. But now, with an internet connection and a laptop, you can create an international corporation. With a Wi-Fi hotspot and a cell phone, you can craft digital media, conduct e-commerce, and so much more. Jason Fomenky may be physically located in Cameroon, West Africa, but his mind is submerged in the world of digital marketing, web development, and internet entrepreneurship. Never one to allow his circumstances to keep him from realizing his dreams, Jason has become known for his online skills. He's helping businesses take advantage of digital and social media marketing. But ironically, he's also developed a healthy digital addiction in the process. Following his passion for creating digital content, Jason can get lost in his phone or dive deep down a wormhole like so many of us do. Jason still struggles to find that balance. But with a learning mindset and a self-realization of having a bigger purpose, Jason's success is bound to continue. He's showing his people what is possible with today's technology. I hope you enjoy my intercontinental conversation with the entrepreneur, Jason Fomenky. This episode is brought to you by Atlantic Custom Group. For all your home repair and improvement needs, Atlantic Custom Group specializes in the unique and inspiring. From custom libraries and millwork to tree houses and off-grid structures, Atlantic Custom Group can do it all. Renovate your kitchen, remodel your basement, or reinvent your entire home with Atlantic Custom Group. Call now for an appointment at 770-827-7591. Atlantic Custom Group is the official sponsor for the Extraordinary Podcast. Rock and roll. This is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guest today is Jason Fomenky. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Nate. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Where are you?
I'm in Cameroon right now, West Africa.
Other side of the world.
Yeah.
And we're coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. So thanks for taking the time. What time of day is it over there for you guys right now?
It's like 40 minutes past 2.
Okay, so middle of the afternoon, kind of winding down your day a little bit, or hopefully hitting your stride maybe.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself. What does the world need to know about Jason Fomenky? What do you do?
I'm into digital marketing. I'm also software engineer because I'm starting to be a software engineer, but mostly I'm that kind of practical software engineer who is into programming, coding, and all of that stuff.
And you also have a podcast as well, correct?
Yeah, I have a podcast as well, the Winners Podcast.
Yeah. And what's the name of your business?
It's We Just Want to Win. It's actually a digital marketing agency, and I'm pushing it up to like business coaching and all of that.
Outstanding. And we can find that at wejustwantowin.ml, M like Mary, L like Lewis. So be sure to check that out. So tell me about how you got into all this personal development stuff, because your background is kind of software and you know how to code and all that. We were just talking before we started recording. You're over here working on a WordPress website. It's like, man, I need to talk to you about helping me out with mine.
Yeah.
But that's not the area that you want to I mean, that's the area that you've been in, but you now are hoping to get into more of the personal development and the coaching, correct?
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Where did that come from?
I'm that kind of person who is like, because in order to like coach someone or advise someone on something, you need to like know it, or you need to have experience something concerning it. So I'm that kind of person. I learn a lot from the mistakes I had. I learn a lot from things I do, and I actually think a lot. I spend most of my day thinking of this solution or this problem or how to do this or how to do that. So when you actually like come up, I think those kind of stuff. I think of problems, And that's what made me to like come up with a digital marketing strategy. I call it the AAA strategy.
The AA strategy?
The AAA, age rate
AAA
advice.
strategy. Okay, tell me
Yeah,
about that. What does that stand for?
it's attention, advertisement, action. Because if you look at marketing right now, those are the three main steps you take in marketing. You need to grab someone's attention. The next thing you advertise, and the next thing you need is action. Some days back, I saw a meme which someone posted online, which behind someone's car, the person had written "weed" written in a green color, and under it he wrote, "Now that I have your attention, I'm a lawnmower. You can contact me." And he put his number down there. I was like, that was a perfect marketing strategy. First, he grabbed your
Brilliant.
attention
Yeah.
because there'll be no one driving in his car, and he'll turn and see weed, and he'll look out of it. He must like, wait, what's going on? So when he grabs your attention, the next thing he advertises who he is, right? I'm a lawnmower. That's the advertisement you've done. So, and after that, now he has to move on to the action, his number. That's why you have to call him and reach out to him. All marketing strategies, social media, email marketing, any other marketing strategy, you must use those three steps.
I love it. That's brilliant. I'm just writing this stuff down. I'm over here taking notes, man. That's outstanding. How do you like to get how are you learning all this information? How are you getting all this strategy and development?
I actually, like I said, I think a lot. I spend most of my time thinking. I can be like, sometimes I actually sit and talk down to myself because, the greatest person who knows who you are is you. You are the only person who know yourself. There'll be no personal development coach. There'll be no person who come and advise you who you are on who you are. Because if I ask you like a very personal question, like let me say I ask someone, do you watch pornography? He will reject that. But if you sit and ask yourself, you tell yourself, okay, I watch this, I want to stop this, right? And you've come up with strategy to stop it. But if a coach or someone who is like trying to advise you for it, you won't actually give her that kind of information because he may look down on you or he may tell someone else. So I actually sit and sometimes I like talk to myself and be like, okay, what's this? Or what's going on? Or how do I solve this? And when I come up with like a lot of problems. If you check on it's just that I've cleared my table. I have a lot of notes I've written. I just sit, I may think something and like write it down. The next time I'm writing down this, I have a lot of notes I write. So that's what actually made me like have all these ideas and mix it with what I'm learning, like the courses I take and the people who actually like watch the YouTube videos, someone like Gary V, Russell Brunson, all those people, when you like merge all that data together, you can actually think the way forward.
You can synthesize it and come up with your own solutions. I think
Yeah.
that's brilliant. So, where does that come from in you? Where does all this come from? Because I mean, because a lot of people just reject a lot of these philosophies. A lot of people don't want to put in the work or the effort, um, and I think this is kind of a calling for a lot of us. So, where does all this come from with you?
Most people grew up because since I'm going into the business world, I'm going into the world which is mostly concerned of building companies and that. Most people grew up like they'll tell you their story back in school, they were selling, they used to buy this and sell this, do this. I never grew up in that kind of way. I've never actually done sales as a kid. I've never actually bought and sold or taken this and sold it out. But one thing I did as a kid was destroying toys. I destroyed a lot of toys. I wanted to see what's in it. I was always like,
How it works, all the mechanics
how it
inside.
works.
Yeah, that's
I was
brilliant.
like trying to check was because I'm more of adventurous than someone who actually sits and say, I don't actually wow things. Like if I see a phone fly in the air, I won't be like, wow, that's magical. I'll be like, what causes it to fly? I'll actually try to think or meet the person who's doing it and be like, what happens with this? So I've actually destroyed a lot of toys and I've learned a lot from that. I know, okay, if I destroy this time and this happened, the next time I don't have to do this. Maybe I cut this cable the wrong way. The next time I have to do that. So it's more of like adventure for me than actually like the money in it or anything about it.
And like me, you like learning things the hard way.
Yeah.
uh,
I'm that kind of person who, like, if I see a manual, a book manual, I may just read like the basics and the rest of it, I want to discover it on my own.
That's great. That's great. Well, I think that's brilliant because I think we can figure out our path in life by identifying the activities and the things that we were good at as kids, or the activities that we enjoyed as kids. And like with you, that tinkering mentality, now that applies to like your website development that you're doing in WordPress. And now, a lot of those principles are applying to now in your personal development plans and the things that you're doing with your business startup. I think if you can find that, if you can figure out what that is that you enjoyed as a kid and apply that and figure out a way to make a living doing that as an adult, I think you're going to be successful no matter what.
Yeah, that's so true. Even some days ago, I met a kid. He had messaged me on Instagram, and he was telling me he doesn't actually know what he wants to do in life. He's like confused. He's 17 and he doesn't actually know what to do in life. He was like, he has tried a lot of things. He loves skateboarding, he loves playing basketball, he loves a lot of things, but he doesn't know actually what to do in life. I don't know where he's from. I don't know. I don't actually know him because on his Instagram page, it's like mostly pictures. I can't figure out the country, but it will actually be Europe or the US. So I was actually telling him all of that. And I just told him the perfect age to actually figure out your life is 20. Before reaching 20, I told him he has 3 years to try out everything he wants to try out in life. If he wants to go into basketball, he could try basketball for this number of time. He could move into skateboarding, try it out. And you actually find out what his passion is. Because when you find your passion, you won't actually, the first time you actually find your passion, you won't actually know it's your passion. You'll be like, oh, I'm trying this out for fun. But the next time you actually start saying, hey, this actually looks cool. The third time you'll be doing it, let me say, imagine if you want to like be posting about sports. The first time you post about sports, you may be like, oh, I'm just posting about sports because it's random. But the next time you'll be like, it's cool. And the third time you do it, you start loving, start actually like building some kind of love and passion for it, and you get into it. On my interview, I actually had uh the founder of PG Sports. It's a sports marketing agency. So he actually told me he started his own at, was it 13 or 19? And he actually started tweeting about sports, never knowing what will like the future would be. But right now it's a very big agency, very popular and verified.
And he just started off because it was what he loved. It was what he enjoyed
Yeah,
doing. He just
that's what
started off
it's love.
tweeting about it. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. Well, I think that's the key to finding work that you love. And I think, and for me, it's the key to success because I don't, for me, it's not all about the money. It's not all about the fame and the power and all that. It's more about the lifestyle and creating a lifestyle that you love and creating a life that you love. And when you're doing something that you are passionate about and that you really enjoy, then it's not even at work at that point. It's just you're just doing what you love, and who cares what if you're because if you would do it whether you got paid or not, that's a good indicator that it's what you should be doing. Which is why I'm doing this podcast. Yeah, it's like I wouldn't be doing
Yeah,
this if I didn't love it, because Lord knows it's not paying the bills yet. So
yeah. Like some days ago, I had a friend because I actually publish articles on LinkedIn too. So I had a friend who
nice.
messaged me and was like, when I actually publish articles on LinkedIn, do I get paid? I was like, what's he saying? Actually getting paid for posting articles on LinkedIn. I mean, it's not about the pay. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's actually like putting valuable content out there so people learn. People actually learn something from it. Because if you focus on the money, you lose. In entrepreneurship, I always have this saying: don't fall in love with the name and forget the game. The game is entrepreneurship, and the name is the fame, the money, and everything. Don't fall in love with the name and forget the game.
That's brilliant. I love that. Awesome. That's gonna be our soundbite right there. That's fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean it makes perfect sense. I mean well, it's all about because none of this stuff happens overnight. All of it, everything, success takes time, and you've got to be able to endure. And that's what I tell everybody, especially in the podcasting community. Is just if you will just keep showing up consistently, same time, same day, every single week, week after week, and do the best you can. Number one, you're going to get a lot better. And two, nobody's listening at first, so don't expect much. But three, if you keep that up, that we all think that the graph goes like this, that the listeners build or the audience builds, but it doesn't. It builds like this. It's that exponential curve, and it's like slow, 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 slow. Then all of a sudden, it's going to take off. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to keep riding that horse and keep showing up day in and day out. And I think what you and I have in common is we both stole from Gary V is that mentality of just put the content out there. If once you become known for this, the money will come. The financial opportunities will be there. You just got to make sure that you're putting out a consistent message, and the best message you can put out there day after day after day. And like with LinkedIn articles and all, like same thing, like I'm publishing on Medium. They're not paying me. I'm not getting anything. I mean, if anything, I'm helping them with free content, but it's a means to an end. Maybe someday, one of my big fans, or one of my guys I admire a lot, Ben Hardy, he became who he is through Medium. I mean, he became one of the number one published writer on Medium. And so that's kind of how he made his bones or whatever. So you just got to
Yeah.
keep plugging away at all those opportunities. So was there anybody that influenced you or that kind of like mentored you down this path locally? I know like Gary Vee is a mentor to you, to both of us and people like that. But is there anybody more local that has had a big impact on you?
I don't actually think there's anybody because most of the people in my family are into the book work. I mean, in our family, we got a lot of people who are actually good at school, and there's no actually business owner, no actual business owner in our family. So there's no one that can say no. I look up to this person, or I could go on to for advice. So mostly, I just like personally mentor myself and look for resources here and there to build myself up, because when you build yourself up, that's when you actually build resilience, you build passion, or you build whatever you want to do. So I mostly look up to like personal development and personal growth.
Who else do you enjoy besides Gary Vee?
I'm also like I look up to Jeff Bezos a lot, because I mean his mentality is very much okay, and I'm very much okay with it, because it's like being consistent and you look for the least problem and you solve it. Because Amazon started as a bookstore. Amazon
Right.
started when, if they could tell people who actually be sitting here seeing each other, I'm in Africa and you're in the US, people say you're crazy.
Right.
People say no, it can never happen. But Amazon started doing those periods. So when it actually started, it started as a bookstore, because I've watched the like full documentary of it, the Amazon Empire. I'm sure that's the name of the movie. So he started as a bookstore, and it was kind of like funny because when he started off, people were like, it was not much that popular. And later on, people stopped going to libraries. People actually started buying books online. And Amazon knew, okay, it was an advantage for them because people were actually living the normal life and actually going online. So he turned it out now to say, okay, one of the first things included was toys, because he knew toys were trending. Toys are trending, and there's always a demand for toys because everyday children are being born. And there's Christmas. There are some periods when you must actually give your children toys. So I'm sure that was a strategy he tried to use, and he tried to come up with, and was like, okay, he implemented toys first, implemented other things, and when he saw that the platform was actually big and popular, he started chasing this because he knew authors came there because they just wanted to like sell their books, because Amazon was making much profits the first period. That's what he told investors actually, that he won't make much profits. So when he knew that authors and book publishers were actually on his platform and they were using it to make massive sums of money. He started going in for them, charging them very high. And when you actually see the strategy Amazon is using. Amazon is very big at like in thinking, because if you check now, there's Amazon Web, there's Alexa. Amazon has a lot of things. He's
They
putting
took
his hand into.
they took the concept of Walmart and applied it online, basically, if you think about it, and just dominated, just took over. I mean,
Yeah,
now you can
Amazon is
buy a
like,
daggum car through Amazon if you want. I mean, there's nothing you can't buy through Amazon now. But
yeah,
well, and the other thing that I think is fascinating about them and a lot of other successful businesses is they started off very niche. Like you were talking about, they started off with just books. That's all they were for the longest time. And they got really, really good at selling books online. And that allowed their platform to grow, and that allowed them to build the infrastructure to then, like you said, add toys and then more, one thing here, one thing there. And then it allowed them to then expand into this much bigger, huger conglomerate. But it all started off, you got to get good at that one little niche thing first. And then once you do that, it'll open up the opportunities for other things later on.
yeah, that's actually true, because he actually had an interview where he was actually talking about day one, when he actually used to like package all the stuff himself. So he said there was a time when there was this crash of, I don't know the crash. I'm sure it was the 90s. It happened. The internet crash, where like the internet bubble.
Oh, the
when it
.com
burst.
crash. Mm-hmm.
So
I
when it
remember
happened,
that. That's how old I am.
yeah, when it happened, he saw one thing happen was the market, because this share prices, stock appreciation, stock depreciation, and the markets were crashing. Amazon stocks, the price of Amazon stocks were falling, and people were like, "Oh, Amazon is falling, Amazon is crashing." He actually never looked at what the market was saying. He was not looking into public opinions. What he looked inside his firm, he looked internally. And that's not strategy I think everybody should adapt in this business. You don't actually look at what people are saying in your business, you should actually look at what your business is doing. He looked at his stats in his business, and he actually saw that many customers were actually signing up for Amazon. Amazon was actually getting more customers, more users, and more orders. He was not actually looking at those market shares or market stock prices, because that's just paper. Anything can influence the stock prices. But internally, only your company can influence yourself, because there's no company. If it's any company that has failed today, there's no external problem that actually caused any company to fail. All of them are always internal problems. All of them. You check even this Terranos, which actually crashed because they were actually a fraud. It's that all of them are mostly internal problems.
So I'm curious. We talked about Jeff Bezos and some other folks on your podcast. If you could have any guest that you want, who would be some of the guests that you'd like to have if you could have anyone that accessed anyone you wanted?
The first will actually be Gary Vee.
Yeah. I figured Gary Vee and probably Jeff Bezos will be at the top of the list. But yeah. Well, what's
Yeah,
interesting about Gary Vee, if you keep in contact with him, if you keep engaging with him, that's a realistic opportunity.
yeah, that's because he's actually somehow, as a Gary Vee is more connected to people than just having a business and saying no.
He
I'm a business
engages.
owner. Yeah, he engages with people, because most people are like, I'm a business owner. I don't have anything to do with the audience. I don't have anything to do with customers and all of that. But Gary Vee is actually someone who actually sees and be like, you could actually reply. He actually replies to comments. Actually, like, checks this, checks that. You could mention him and he checks it out.
Yeah. He's a fascinating individual. He's definitely at the top of my list as well. So let me ask you this. Who do you think would be cool for this podcast? Now that you've kind of seen how the premise to our show, ordinary people living extraordinary lives, that sort of thing. Anybody come to mind that you think would be cool for this show?
There are a lot of people have, let me say, a lot of things to offer. And there's also Russell Brunson, who
I
is
know
also
him.
like, yeah, that's like a very good point. He's actually very good in marketing, and especially network marketing, because that's where his business is highly focused on.
Nice. I like that. So I'm gonna shift gears a little bit on you. What's your favorite thing about living in Cameroon?
Life here is pretty much, let me say, I'm saying it's not that much easy or it's that much hard. It's just that comparatively, cost of living here is very like cheap.
Yeah, cost of living is not too bad, huh?
Cost of living is very cheap. It's not too bad here than in the US, where I mean you could be earning very high amounts of money, and basically almost all of it is going to taxes, expenses, which are not like actually into your control, because they just come and it's deducted automatically. Not like, yeah, there's no system for that already. So if, like, let me say you have to pay your car insurance, they don't actually cut it directly from your salary. You have to actually go and do that. So people always try to escape from that. And Cameroon is pretty much, like I say, it's somehow unexplored. Africa as a whole is unexplored. And people are taking use of the opportunity now. I can say in 10, 20 years to come, they'll be the ones benefiting. Like if you check Akon, the musician, right? He's actually building his own city.
Wow.
And the city is actually going to use his own cryptocurrency.
Wow.
So why I see people making that out investment, they actually know what Africa has, because Africa has a lot of resources. Africa had a lot of things which are favorable here. Like if you're a business person in the US and you open up something in Africa, you have more of an advantage, because the currency over there is high. Like $2,000 there's a million, it's a million and something over here. So let me say, if you're a business person in the US and you're making a turnover of, I can say, 10 million, 20 million a year, if you could take 5 million and invest it in Africa or invest it in Cameroon specifically, that's like 2 point something billion francs over here. So you have more of that startup capital, you have more of that capital to invest in any other thing. So
Get
people who
so
have
much more bang for your buck, if you will. So much
yeah,
more value.
yeah, there's so much more value, and people actually be scared of in the markets. People may actually be scared of it because they know you're coming in with more capital. But I know the main thing in business is not actually the capital, because in business there are two things: there's resources and resourcefulness. There are a lot of people who have the resources, they have the money, they have the machinery, they have everything, but they are not resourceful. They don't have the ideas, they don't think ahead. They're like, how do they make money now? How do they make money now? They're not like, in 10 years, I want to be making double or triple what I'm making now. Most of them they want to just make money at that point, and that's why they lose it out. They keep making the same profits over like 10 years, 5 years. Because if you're an entrepreneur, if you call yourself an entrepreneur and you keep making the same profits, you keep having the same number of customers, you keep having the same interactions in 5, 10, 15 years, you're not an entrepreneur, you're just
You're
self-employed.
you're going to be dead. Yeah, your company's going to
Yeah.
die. One of the things that I really admire about you is you have this learning mindset. The wheels are always turning. You're always thinking about the best strategy, the best ways to do things. And with that learning mindset, you're always gaining more information. You're always looking to improve, looking to learn more. So, how do you go about consuming content? Where do you get your information from? Are you doing books? Are you doing audiobooks? Are you doing videos, podcasts? Where do you like to get your content?
Most of the times I like video content because video content is very easy to remember.
Do you go to YouTube primarily for that?
Yeah, YouTube is one of the, I think people right now are minimizing the power of YouTube. People are minimizing the power of the online phase. Because I think in 10, 20 years to come, there'll be more professionals who have learned on YouTube than school. Because everything I'm doing right now, I can't say I've learned, there's nothing I've learned from school in all what I'm doing. Most of what I'm doing, I've learned it on YouTube, I've learned it on books, I've learned it from this blog. So I
Like
can think,
WordPress, for example, right?
yeah, those are
I
things
I
which,
couldn't believe that. I was fascinated by that. You've learned WordPress through YouTube, but it was exactly what I'm trying to do, and I'm failing miserably. But you're owning it, man. That's amazing.
yeah. So those are the things which I think in years to come, school won't actually, because let's come into reality now. There are people who are making more money per year who have learned just courses and have certificates than people who have degrees. People who have like the highest of degrees. I mean, I've seen TikTok influencers who earn hundreds of thousands a year, but there are school teachers who don't earn even like half of that or even quarter of that. So you see, the world is moving into a digital phase. If you check with this pandemic, you'll see everything that just happened. I don't know if it was like just a test out phase, but things were going online. People were actually studying online. So in years to come, people actually want to be like, people will need more money. There'll be people will need more money. There'll be more things to spend on. There'll be more cars, and there'll be more expenses, a higher cost of living. So people will need more money. People will be looking out to things which will actually give them money that needs to be like a degree, because you can actually like sell your PhD. You can transfer it to your children. You can use your PhD and say no, the PhD will feed me. But if you have a course in marketing, you have a course in, let me say you have a course in WordPress, you have taken a course in WordPress, you could actually apply somewhere and you're developing sites for people and then hundreds of thousands a year or a month. When there's someone who has a degree, he doesn't even have like a high paying job or that.
Well, it's kind of like if you have a PhD in social work versus just some good marketing skills that you know how to sell in WordPress. Well, there's a demand for your skills in WordPress that's a marketable skill. There's not a big demand out there for social work. It's like the opportunities there are going to be very limited. So it's like you got to have a skill set that is marketable. And I think you're completely right. I think we're in this digital age that you see us going to. Focusing on those marketable skills is super important. Now, I will say, yeah, if you can get a PhD, if you can do some really in-depth learning on a topic that you can utilize in your business, then hey, definitely do that. Because I'm always
Yeah.
about improving your education. But yeah, you see it more and more and more that the actual degree and the title, it just doesn't carry any weight anymore. It's funny. I was having a conversation just yesterday with an author buddy of mine. He's a professor, and he's published about a dozen books, and they've done okay. And he was debating about. I mean, he's creeping on 70, and he was debating about going back for his PhD just to get that little tag on the end of his name, just to be doctor. And I'm like, man, that's not the answer. The answer is just getting your message out there. But the problem is you're not marketing. People don't know you. People don't know where to find. Like, yeah, you're known within the academic community, but until you go out there and market yourself, until you apply some of these digital marketing skills to let all these people know what you've got to offer, you're nobody. If nobody knows you're there, they can't buy from you. And that's the biggest piece that he's missing. But I'll tell you that for most people, that's not the case. For most people that I see, the problem is lack of content. A lot of the young millennials, the TikTokers out there, if you will, they understand the platforms. They're just not putting any content out there that's worth listening to. And I think that's where Gary Vee hits a home run, because number one, he has the great, awesome content. The message that he has is number one, first and foremost. But then the fact that he's able to constantly deliver it on digital marketing platforms, day after day, week after week, year after year, just relentlessly. I mean, that's why he's now, I mean, if you talk about anybody in this space, Gary Vee's the first name to always come up, because he's just always out there.
Yeah, that's true. In life now, there are two most important skills in life, which if you have them, you succeed. There's sales and marketing. Those are the two most important skills. I think anybody who has those two skills, you'll be very successful in anything you do. In anything, I mean, there's nothing which does not need marketing. There's nothing which does not need sales. In everything you do, you're a salesperson. If you're an employee, you are working for someone, you're selling your time. And at the end of the week, at the end of the month, you are being paid. But business people don't actually sell the time. They don't. Business people use their time for actually very much lucrative things. Because an entrepreneur is someone who is very conscious of time. Entrepreneur knows, okay, I have 24 hours in a day. I have to maximize it. I have to use it in a way that it'll be very productive for me and I'll be happy with it. But someone who is, let me say, an employee, or you're working for someone, you're selling your time 9 to 5. You have sold that time out to the person you're working for, and you have to report to work during that period of time. So when you have the skill of sales and marketing, you can actually like scale anything out, because there are people there's this video I watched on YouTube on the best door-to-door salesman. I mean, you should check that out. I don't know I've forgotten his name, but I mean, if you just go and check the video on YouTube, he pops up first names, because he's very
send
popular
it to
right
me,
now.
and then we'll put a link in the show notes for everybody listening. Whatever it is, we'll find it, and then we'll have a link in the show notes so y'all can access what we're talking about. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's actually like the best door-to-door salesman. So what he does is he actually visits people, right? He sells his cleaning products and all the things which you use to clean your home. And he actually visits you, and you see the way he speaks, the way he actually relates to people, because in marketing, there are some steps you actually take. First thing, you have to actually interact with the customer or the audience. You have to actually be friendly with them. You don't actually go and say, "Oh, buy this pen." There was this some time ago. I put it up in my story. I put a pen and I told people to actually like sell me this pen, because that's a trick. That's where you go for some kind of audition. That's some of the things you ask to sell me this
That
pen.
Jordan Belfort
So
thing. Some of this pen. I love
yeah,
it. Yeah, it's amazing.
people come up and were like, "The pen is shiny. It has a good color. It's nice." I was like, "That's not it." There was a guy who actually argued me on it, because he told me the ink is good, the ink lasts, the pen can last for a number of years. I said, I was like, that's not what I want to say about you selling me the pen. First thing you have to do is like, know if I even need a pen. How can you, let me say, if you go and meet someone who is, let me say, an accountant, and you want to sell an accountant a marketing course, it doesn't make sense. Or if you want to sell, you know English, but I mean, someone comes to you and tells you he wants to sell you a course in English. It's crazy, right? Because I've had someone who actually messaged me on LinkedIn telling me she speaks French and she learned English, and she come and ask me she wants to sell me a course on English. I was like, why should you try to sell me a course on English when I'm actually good at English?
When I speak
So
English and you're just learning it, right? It's like, what?
yeah. So the first thing you have to know in marketing is knowing the person, knowing if the person actually needs it. You don't actually go and meet someone and let me say if someone has a very average size and you tell them you want to sell them a course or some kind of supplements to burn down weight. That would be crazy. You'd be like someone who actually said that very offensive. So the first thing you need to know is like interact with the person, know what the person needs. And he actually creates demand because as an entrepreneur in all of your business, you must be creating demand. You don't actually go for supplies, you create demand. If there's no demand for your product, because there are products which actually have demand. If you look at products such as, let me say, the company or the bakery producing things like bread, there's always a demand for bread. But people actually, let me say, if you're into cakes, you're making cakes, people don't actually demand cakes often because people wake up in the morning, someone won't wake up for breakfast and say, I want to eat a big cake and all of that. So people actually are for cakes, are actually creating demand. Their birthdays, their celebration. They have to actually look into people who actually have to celebrate their birthdays, who actually have to do this celebration or this wedding. And that's where the demand is. You don't actually push a product out for marketing. So when you actually know sales, you can relate to people. You can actually tell them because salespeople have a very funny tactic. When you meet people who are into sales, I mean, I just when I meet them, I just like know you want to sell me something. But there was a guy who actually tried selling me something on Facebook. I mean, that was the most perfect way someone actually approached me to buy something. It's just that what he was selling was not actually what I needed. But if I actually needed, I would obviously have bought it.
Because
Because
he
I
did
actually
such a
met me
good
and he was
job.
like, yeah. He was like, how's business going? How's this going? Asked me a lot of things. Then he started asking me questions like, how am I being able to like cope with business and let me say my health? Asked me a lot of health related questions and he actually told me of this fitness course or some fitness service. I was like, whoa. I never even expected him to sell me this, but he actually moved into that. I was like, this is the greatest person I've met. Not
He got
someone
you
who will
there
be
without
like,
even realizing
buy
it.
this course.
That's great.
Yeah.
So he was
Because
selling a
people
fitness
are like,
course at the end of the day. That's what he was marketing as a fitness course.
yeah,
Nice,
yeah. But he
awesome.
approached me and was asking me about business related questions. I was like,
Yeah,
that's real perfect.
that's brilliant. Yeah. Well, and what's cool is that when I find people like that, I tend to want to promote them. I tend to want to help further their cause because they're being honest with you. You know, they're being straight up, and they have good intentions for the most part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not people who come and be like, you must like if you don't buy this course means you don't want to succeed.
Well, what I find funny with salesmen, as soon as they realize they're not going to sell, that you're not going to be a buyer, how their tone and their demeanor changes and how they just completely shift, and it's like, okay, you're done with me, I see. But I guess,
Yeah.
hey, rightfully so, right?
Yeah. The thing is, you just have to actually learn most of their tactics because
Yeah.
if you're not actually smart at it, because the biggest companies or the biggest, the MLMs, these multi-level marketing companies, which are actually out to like scam people or fraud people, and the main thing they focus more on is sales. They don't focus on any other thing. They focus more on sales. And if you are actually a good salesperson, you could actually sell let me say if a product the normal market price is I can say $100, you can sell it for $500 if you're good in sales. There are people who do that. They are good in sales. Like if I have a course and they're good in market because marketing is more of emotion and mindset. If I can mess with your emotion, I can mess with your mindset. I can sell you anything. That's the main thing in marketing. So let me say I start a course now on let me say digital marketing, and I want to make sure I sell it. I want to market it out. I just go and meet someone like Gary V, make him endorse it, and that's all. I'll be like, it was the cost to sell out very good because people know, hey, this is being endorsed by Gary V is great, and that's what marketing is about. Marketing is about communication. Your message you're actually communicating to people.
Yeah, and I like the concept also of providing value. Like if you can provide $100 or $1,000 worth of value and sell it for $100, then you'll always come out. People will always buy if you can create value. And I always like to say under promise and over deliver. And if you do that,
Yeah,
then you because for me it's like the old school way of doing business. It's about creating relationships. It's not just about the sale or the sell. It's about creating relationship and providing value. Because if you do that, then they'll keep coming back. And because for me, it's not a one and done. I grew up as a contractor, and it's like once you've remodeled somebody's kitchen, and they've spent, tens and tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars on that kitchen, they're done with you. They're not going to call you back the next week to, start another big project. So you're one and done. It's like, so you're always having to look for that next customer, that next opportunity. But what's cool though is once you're in the game for a long time and you remodeled their kitchen 5 or 10 years ago, and they're ready to do their basement, they're automatically coming to you. It's like a guaranteed job in the future. But the problem is it's a 10-year gap in between. So you got to, anytime you can have that long vision and being there for the long game, I think it's always a wise way to approach things. And providing
Yeah,
value does that. When you provide value, it's that long-term strategy. And when you're providing a sale, it's that short-term strategy. And everything I look at now, I look at from a 10-year perspective. And if you look at it from a long-term perspective, I think it changes the way that you think, and it changes some of your decision-making and some of your patterns of behavior as well. So on that note, speaking of that 10-year plan, if everything went according to plan, and all your wildest dreams came true, all this stuff falls into place exactly like what you want it to, what does your life look like 10 years from now? What does this business look like 10 years from now?
I'll be more of like being in the field out, like providing more value for people, because I'm someone with that like philanthropic mindset of like giving back, or actually helping people actually reach this level, or help people attain this kind of level. Because life is not all about like surmounting all the world, surmounting all the business and all of that. Because I see success more of like collective. The human generation or the human race has made it this far because of collectiveness. It's about like reaching out to people or making people grow. Because I believe in 10 years, 5 years to now, I'll be like trying to like extend my business to like more fields, or get into more fields, because I'm into digital marketing now. I may someone move on to real estate. I may move on to this. I may move on to that. So while doing that, I actually like make sure I'm putting out value for people. Because if you don't put out value for people, let me say if I start up with real estate, I know, okay, there are people who actually have to get on this team. And it's about building teamwork too, because in any company, the main thing that matters is your team or your teamwork, how you manage everyone. So when you actually manage everyone great, and you manage everyone good with a good standing team, I believe in 10 or 5 years, because mine I have like a 5 year plan. I have like a 5 year plan. After 5 years, if this goes or that goes, I change a lot of strategies, I implement a new one and wait for the next 5 years. So in 5 or 10 years from now, I believe like I must have extended into like more fields. I must have raised a lot of capital, because I see money to me as a tool. Money is that I see myself as an adventurer in life, and the only tool you I can use to like complete your adventures is money. So when I have like that money, I could go on more adventures. Adventures as in opening up more companies, solving more problems, and bringing out more value to people.
If you could solve one problem today, what would it be?
One problem I want to solve is like I mean, I just want to like see everything okay and people living their life, because I know poverty is very high, and that's one thing I'm always looking forward to like help people out on that.
You got a favorite book or any books that
Um,
have had a big impact on you?
if there's a book I'll suggest someone, I don't know if you're into business and you're a family guy, you're into anything. The best book is David Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That would be like
Excellent.
the greatest book I've read myself, because it's like business about building connection. Business about I was talking with a partner, because I'm also part of like another business. So he told me in the world right now is who you know and what you know. And one of the most important part is who you know. Because the number of people you know is the number of people who actually like that's how you grow. Because let me say I know you, right? Let me say you're a contractor and you actually fix my basement, or you fix my kitchen. I don't know, you fix anything in my house, and I actually know you. And let me say a friend of mine or a family member is like the one just done. I want to actually go out and meet another person. I'll actually come to meet you and be like, okay, this person is this. You could actually get to him and you sign up the contract with him. So it's who you know. And that's a book which actually brings that out a lot. That book actually helped me in like building out connections, reaching out to people, and knowing people for who they are. Because all the topics discussed in the book, if you check them in life, it works out very well because he doesn't just brings out the topic, he brings out live examples of people using them. And the second book which I suggest to people is Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's another book on finances because I'm concentrating on those two: building relationships and having financial intelligence.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I love Robert Kiyosaki. He's a really smart guy. I love his perspective. One that's another favorite book of another guest I had on the show as well. How to Win Friends and Influence People is in my top 5 as well. That's one of the key ones. It's about, those building relationships. It's brilliant for sure. Absolutely. So, is there a habit that you have that's different than most people maybe that has contributed to some of your success? I'm a big habits guy and routines guy.
Like I say, I'm not sort of that much time conscious. That's one thing and people admit. I mean, this I'm not that much because I could set a time to do this. I could say like at 4 o'clock I'll do that. You see me doing it at 5 or at 6. I'm not time conscious, but one thing I have in me is like that passion or that awakening to say, okay, I want to do this. Most of the times I just like set out dates. I could say, okay, before this date, I want to do this. Like the whole of last month, I went through last month without even knowing what day I was in. I was like, okay, in 2 days to come, in 3 days to come.
I think they call that flow state where you just kind of get in the groove, man, and you're just rolling. You just things are going, and you just kind of keep rolling with it. I think that's a benefit to you. I think that's a real good characteristic to have. Well, it can be because when you're in that flow state, it's when you get a lot of really productive work done, really meaningful work gets done when you're in that state. So, but yeah, you can definitely lose track of time and get yourself in
Yeah.
hot water with like the family and all that kind of stuff for sure.
Yeah, because I basically like I could sit the whole day just on my laptop trying to work this out or learn this out, and before knowing it's evening, I'm like, whoa, a day has already gone through. But at least I've learned something, or at least I've done something that will actually help me in the future.
So, what's one area or aspect of your life that you struggle with, or that you hope to improve in, or that you're currently working on?
Let me see what aspect am I like struggling to work on.
Where do you feel
Well,
you're coming up short? If you could wave a magic wand and miraculously fix one aspect of your lifestyle or
the
your
only
life, and
the only aspect I would like want to fix is more of like I want to be more of like disciplined with myself. So I want to actually be like time conscious because I know time consciousness is very, very much even though like when you're going with the flow is very good because you actually do things at your own time. But time consciousness is very important because let me say if I want to like get this done, I actually set a time for it because I set alarms like almost every time, but I won't wake up at that time. I could tell myself by 12 I'll sleep, and I see myself sleeping at 4 a.m., waking up at 12 the next day. So I want to actually be time conscious to that level.
so is it safe to say you're a night owl then, and not an early bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Are you familiar with David Meltzer? Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I actually attended his Zoom call like some days ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the one he does on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sit on that one occasionally as well. One of the things I like about him is he's like study your calendar and become an expert at your calendar. And it's not so much about setting alarms and that sort of thing, but really like maximizing your day. And I really like his philosophy on how to really become a student of your calendar, spend time looking at it and planning things out and really making an effort to maximize each day, each week, and getting the most bang for your buck out of everything that you're doing.
Yeah, that's very true because time is the only thing which I mean, time is a very important resource. Money is not the main resource, it's actually time. You could work
Absolutely.
out as Robert Kiyosaki always says, every day millions have been printed. I could say billions have been printed by the bank. And there's already money out there. You just grab it. You just have to like come up with the next brilliant idea and people pitching their money. If you have any brilliant idea, people pitching their money for it. But time, I can't say I can share my time with you. Like right now, we could share an hour on this podcast, share 2 hours on this podcast, but I can't tell you I'm giving you my time. I have 24 hours in a day. I can't say no, I want to like give out 4 hours of mine so you could add it and have 28 to yours. No. Time is actually something which you actually have to be very much aware of. And people spend their time very uselessly. People in 24 hours, people I could say people have just like just a quarter of that time. People sleep for 9 hours, 10 hours per se. You're at work from 9 to 5, and the least hours you have, maybe you're watching a YouTube video or you're watching movies, you're watching Netflix. I mean, that's the best way to waste your time. I could say if I see you doing, I'll say like you're
From the
wasting a
guy who
lot of
spends
your
all his
time.
time on YouTube, right? Coming from the guy who learned
No, because
everything he knows
I
from
actually spend my
YouTube.
time because when you actually spend your time learning something which is productive, like let me say,
Yeah,
if I
because
want
like
to
if you're on
learn real
YouTube
estate,
learning stuff like a
let me say,
language or a skill, then that's time well spent, right?
yeah,
For sure.
because you see a lot of people my age are like you see most of them are into Netflix and chill, and I'm like, wait, why should you waste your time on Netflix when for every minute or every second you're watching, they are making money for it, and you're there wasting money on it instead of like finding out something productive. You see most of them go on TikTok and they're scrolling, watching people dancing. I'm like, how do people actually have time to spend like let me say a minute on every new TikTok dance that is out and actually watching it and consuming that kind
And
of
then
content?
learning it and then trying to repurpose it and then do their own little version of it. Yeah, it's so stupid. But I will say but I've actually, because I'm not into the dancers and or any of that kind of stuff. Some of the people that I've followed on TikTok have actually, again, there's some actual learning going on there. There's some actual beneficial
Yeah,
material that I'm seeing. But to your other point though, Netflix is a killer for me. It's so bad, in particular because of the way it's structured to keep you hooked, and this way that's structured to show you that next episode, and the way that allows you to binge watch. To me, that's the part that's so detrimental. Like, I like the concept of Netflix. I love the idea of streaming movies and being able to consume that, and I love the idea of being able to have a whole season, ready to go. But they edit those episodes and they create these little cliffhangers to try to get you to go ahead and start that next episode. Next thing you know, you've wasted hour after hour after hour, and it's just not healthy. It's detrimental to all the other aspects of not just business. I think it's detrimental to your other relationships, to your interpersonal development. I mean, to your kids. I mean, it's not good. I really worry about that. And it's become so fashionable.
yeah.
It's become so cool. Hey, what's the next show on Netflix I should go binge watch? Seeing it on social media all the time. It's like, are you kidding me? Dude, find something else to do with your time. Come on.
I prefer using the money to invest in Netflix stocks, and I
Now, the,
know if I'm investing in Netflix stocks, I know okay, some knuckleheads will be out there watching and making me more money. So why they are wasting their money? Why they're wasting their money watching content? I'm using my money to make money out of them.
yeah, off of them watching that content, right?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and that's what smart people do, right? That's what the successful entrepreneurs are out there doing. They're paying attention and they're taking advantage, right? We're going to start winding this thing down, but I did want to take a second to talk about your childhood and growing up. You're one of five kids. I'm the oldest of five kids, and you actually experienced tragedy early on in life. You lost a sibling. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about that or share any of that experience?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no problem with that. So let me say, most of my child experience have been like, let me say, because I'm someone who actually learn a lot from life. I don't actually, it's like, when you're in class or in school, per se, they always tell you to learn ahead of the teacher. And life is a teacher. Life teaches you. And when life teaches you the hard way. So the best thing to always do is to learn ahead of life. If you're ahead of life and you have learned ahead of life, you'll be like that kind of person who know how to like figure it out. So when I actually I lost my brother back then when I was like 12 or 13 and that. So I was like it was like let me say it was not that much I could say that much real like sorrowful or painful because I lost him when I was at an age when I never knew much about like all this like things going on and death and all of that. So it was more of like I've lost a sibling and I was more of I'll never see him again. That was my main worry about it. My
And,
main worry
and,
was
and
like
you lost him to some kind of a kidney complication. Is that right?
yeah, kidney
Kidney
complication
failure.
and yeah. So it was more of like I won't get to see because when I was in school, because I went to a boarding school, I will actually stay on campus and we'll have holidays at home. So when I was in school, I was this kind of person. I'm always like competitive and adventurous. So and he actually knew how to draw because that's something which almost all of us in our family know how to do, how to draw very well. So he knew how to draw, and I had classmates, I had people who could actually draw more than me, and I was like, I'm just waiting to get home so he can actually like teach me all like the secrets of drawing, so I could come and win these people over with my own artistic skills. So when I went on, it was somehow a tragedy to me because I just started boarding school and I just started secondary school by then, and it was somehow like disheartening to me. But I never that much got interacted. But up to now, it actually impacts me because some days I sit and remember, I'm like, wow, I won't actually see this guy again, and it's been like 7 years not for now. So I'm always like, wow, it's like this world is magical. You just have to live life the way you have to like the way you have to live it because you don't know what is going to happen next. I don't believe most people say life is short. Life is no, life isn't short. Life is life. Life is what you make of it. Life isn't hard. Life isn't easy. Life is what you actually make of it. And there's no limitation to life. You just have to know you have a timeline in anything you do. You have a timeline. You don't. There's no average age. Nobody should come and tell you you have just 70 years to live. You have just 20 years to live. You have just 40 years to live. You have a timeline, and you have to make use of it. And that's what I'm trying to do. Because I don't know, people will not share this belief with me, but I always have this belief: I won't die unless I finish what I'm to do. People may not share that and may be like, "You're
I
being
like that.
more of like optimistic," but I'm like, I won't actually like go unless I'm finished what I came here for because I believe I was sent here for something. I never just came to live life and move on as a journey. And then when it's time to go, I'll actually go. I actually have something I have to do, and that's what I'm fighting to do. I spend every day trying to do that.
It's your calling.
Yeah, it's more of like a calling
That's brilliant. I love that. That's amazing. I
because there'll be times you'll be down, times because the biggest setback I had was actually to actually repeat a class back in secondary school, and it was like, let me say from then at let me say ever since I entered secondary school, I was like before that I was like the best in class. I was also like the top people in class, but I actually entered secondary school and my results started degrading and going down because and actually it went worse when I met bad friends and it actually made me to repeat the class. But I mean, after that, I learned a very big lesson to myself. I don't know. I became a beast. I could say I was a beast after that. After that, I was like the top in class. I was like everything. I was always going in for it. And because when I did that, I changed the
What
school I
was
was
it?
going
What
to.
was the change that? What was that shift that made that change in you? That made you decide to rebuckle down and get refocused like that? What was there a specific thing or a specific moment that triggered that for you?
I don't know how it just like came on to me. I just like realized myself. I was like, wait, I'm more than this. I could actually like do all this stuff
You knew
because
you
I
were
know
capable of
myself.
more.
Yeah, I knew I was like capable of more. And when I had to like change, because one thing, yeah, one thing, my past life actually has helped me a lot in actually handling negativity. For me, I don't believe there's anybody who could actually like draw me down or make me become that moody to some kind of extent. I always take life very easy, and some people have a big problem with that because I see things very normal. People may be saying, "Oh, this is crazy." This no, I always say that, "Oh, okay, that's great." Because when it actually happened, I changed school because my grandmom, which was back because I was actually schooling in another town, right? And I had my grandmom there. Right now, she's over in the US. So when I was schooling, since she traveled out, I had to like go back to change my college, and also I had to like change the environment where I was in. So I went to the next school, and most people over there were like, "Oh, he's having these good results because he had repeated this class and he's actually good at this. He may have like
Right.
crammed all this stuff." But I actually saw myself to be like a smart person. I was not like, "Oh, it's just because I knew it," because I've seen people actually repeat a class and I don't know those kind of stuff. So I was actually like trying to like cope with that negativity around me of people being like, "Oh, he's doing this because he knows of it or he knows of it previously. He had learned it obviously." And I went to college like that. I actually went to high school with that, and high school that's when like pitched my determination because we have these general competitive exams which is organized by the government. Over there, I forgot how you guys call it, but Yeah, we have more of like a British system. We call it the GCE. So
Yeah, like a
actually, like,
certificate or whatever.
yeah,
GED.
I, I plummeted myself saying that's my main goal in high school. I wanted to have like the best results to stand out in everybody. So people actually know, okay, it's not just because I had none of these things in the past and it's just that class which I'll pass very well. So I went to high school with that determination of like popping out and standing out with everybody. And when I passed, actually, actually came out second in the whole school.
Nice. They call that salutatorian around here. They have valedictorian. That's the number one kid in class, and then they graduates. Then the second one is the salutatorian. So that's what you would have been.
And before that, trust me, it wasn't that much easy because back then when we were writing the like people actually like there's some kind of examination malpractice sometimes. So people were actually like taking advantage of it and using because some questions had already came out and people were taking advantage and using it. And I was not that much into it. I was trying to like study on my own. I know how hard it is for those kind of people. When you're the one trying to be like, I'll study, I won't use that. People are going to actually be like, oh, he's claiming he knows a lot. He thinks he's like on top of everyone. And there was a time I was actually like afraid. I was like, what if I came out last in class? What if I actually failed? What if I actually like did this and people will laugh at me and all of that? And actually there was this time I was actually real down. I was writing at the end of the examinations. I was like, wow. I was just praying and so that if my results came out bad, I shouldn't like fail that much or fail below people who actually use all those like malpractice and that. And before the results came out, I had some kind of funny dream which I failed all the subjects because in high school we write 5 subjects, right? I did arts. So I had a dream which I failed all of that and I was like, wow. I couldn't even tell anyone about it. I hid that to myself the whole period.
Because you're
And
freaking out.
I was afraid. I was like, whoa, if this happens, I was like dead. And I actually waited for the results to come out. And the results came out that day. And I was very much surprised because in those 5 papers, they're like, there are some, let me say that 25 points which you have, right? So out of 25 points, I had 20 points in that. So I was like, whoa, this is actually like, means I could actually do this without actually using some kind of funny method to achieve that kind of success or without actually like minding if people see me for that's why if I'm going into business I'm going all in. I won't care if people will like laugh at me that my business is failing because I take every failure as a lesson. I don't take it as some kind of like big thing because my perspective of failure is if you do something and fail and you do it and fail again, you do it and fail the third time, that's a failure. When you do the first time and fail, that's just a setback. And you can actually come up from that setback. When you are doing it continuously without actually learning, that's when it's a failure.
Yeah, it's what your mentality is, and it's what's so appealing about you. At the end of the day, it's that learning mindset. You have a learning mindset, and when you have a learning mindset, that kind of a mentality or that outlook on life, then it makes learning easier. It makes engaging in that material not so difficult, and you'll tend to have, and the more you enjoy that, the more that you thrive in that environment, the better the results will be. And I think that if there's one takeaway from all of this, and I hope that the listeners get from you, it's that learning mindset. It's that constantly looking to improve, constantly looking to develop, because we live in a day and age where you can live in Cameroon and have access to all the information in the world. You can be in Atlanta, Georgia, and know everything in the world there is to know out there if you just want to go look and find it. We have all the tools and the capabilities, and if you have the right mindset, that learning mindset, then you can go out there and you can figure anything out. You can figure out how to be a WordPress developer. You can figure out how to code. You can figure out how to market a business. You can figure out how to build a house. All these different things. It's all out there for you to learn, but you have to have that learning mindset. Um, and Jason, you got that, man. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And what I like the most about people like you that have that learning mindset is there's all these people, like what you call the people that may be talking about you, laughing at your failures or whatever. There's all these people that are watching you. And as you continue to thrive and as you continue to grow and develop and succeed, all those people are going to be watching going, he's doing it. And if he can do it, then I can do it, and it just shows the possibilities of what's out there. And I think that that's the best thing of all the things you're doing. That's the most important. You're out there being an example of what's possible to a lot of other people out there.
Yeah, that's true because there was this video I posted even on my Instagram which it is most was trying to say like learning is free. It's just like you actually putting yourself out to learn because I mean there's nothing which you can learn online right now. You could learn anything without paying a dime. People always come up with this, even me these network marketers or multi-level marketers who actually want to get you into their own business or get you into what they're doing. They always tell you it takes money to make money. That's a lie. It takes time to make money. I know people start up their business with nothing, or they may even start up like a $1 business idea, but now it's raking in millions. And it's just like time. You take your time. If you can't invest money, invest time. If you have the money to invest, you look for time. That's basically what I do. If you need a very robust website and you don't have the money to pay someone like $2,000, $1,000, you go on YouTube. You don't spend like even $1 to go on YouTube and watch a video on how to do it. You don't spend $1 to go to this blog or even Stack Exchange, which is one of the highest places where developers go to for resources. You don't spend a dime going there and looking out for resources to like actually like build that website. So you have to like invest one of them, invest time or invest money.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great way to wrap this thing up. Time is our finite resource, but we waste so much of it. And one of the things I talk about is like, if you spend the time on doing what it is that you're passionate about, that you love, getting good at this, you can spend your time watching Netflix and binging on television shows and doing all that kind of stuff and sitting on the couch and cracking a beer after you get done with work. Or you can spend your time honing your craft, getting better at what you do, learning and having that learning mindset, constantly trying to gather more information and getting more intelligent about these things that you're passionate about. And if you spend your time doing those things, the benefits from that will show themselves. They will reveal themselves. And it's the same thing with sitting on the couch drinking a beer. You sit on the couch for drinking a beer for 10 years, those results will reveal themselves. And you'll have the
Yeah.
beer gut and the waste of life and a miserable relationship to show for it. So Jason, thank you for your time. This has been an amazing conversation. We have a lot more that we could go into, but I just want to wrap up with two questions. And I want to make sure that, well, we've already talked about the website, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to plug all your social media and all that kind of stuff. But before we wrap up, first question is, if you had a billboard for all the world to see, what would you put on it?
I'll just put chase your passion.
Chase your passion.
I'll be it. Because life is all about passion. Because I don't you see, most people tell you education isn't that much necessary, but education is necessary if you're let me say if you want to be a doctor, you're passionate to be a doctor. Don't just sit and say no, I don't want to be a doctor, I want to be a business person and you actually start going into business. If you love being a doctor, go to school. Go and spend 7 years in it, learn and all of that because that's your passion. That's what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about me, I'm passionate about adventure. I just like checking out what's going on, doing this, solving that. So if you see someone is passionate, if you're passionate about business, go to a business school and learn that. If you're passionate about anything, don't just drop out of school and say no. Gary Vee told me I should drop out of school. Robert Kiyosaki said I should drop out of school. This other person told me I should drop out of school. You lose it in life because that's not what you're passionate about. Follow your passion, and if you chase your passion, you'll be very because if you see people who chase their passion, those are the people you go to the hospital to see a doctor smiling. He smiles to all the patients. Those are the people you go to the counter and you see a clerk. He's smiling every day to people. He sees it. Even if you're rude to the clerk or you're rude to them, they smile back at you. Those are the people who chase their passion.
It's because they're enjoying the process. They're enjoying the journey. And that's what it's all about for sure. Awesome. That's a beautiful thing. That's a great way to wrap it up. All right. So last question, Jason, what's your favorite item under $100 that you could not live without that you use on an everyday basis? And so I guess I don't know what the franc conversion of it is, but what's your favorite, cheapest little item that you use on a regular everyday basis?
I think my most important item is my phone.
Yeah, but that's probably more than $100 though, right? So what else besides your phone?
Yeah. Let me see.
And
I
that's
don't
too
use.
easy. And everybody tries to give me that answer, and I don't let them use that one. So you got to give me something else, something different.
Let me see. I don't because I'm not more of like that much of. Let me say into like
I would love
buying all
like
this.
a Cameroon based answer. Is there something that like everybody in your country like has or uses that maybe don't not other people have or use or something? I don't know, something like that.
I don't think there will be anything which will be like let me say somehow different with me because I'm not that much of a person who go to a shop and buy a shoe per $100 per se. If it's not that much necessary, or if I don't need it, so I don't have like things which are under 100 which I use on a daily basis because shoes or dresses are not things to use like on a daily basis. If you're buying a shoe that expensive, you don't expect to use it like every day. But the thing which I'm more connected with is like my phone and my laptop. I could spend like all day with it, with like no problem with it. I have like very much no problem because if someone actually robs me and it's like your wallet or your phone, you take the wallet. I'm more interested with my phone and what's in it.
Okay, cool. All right. So on that note, then I'm gonna change it up just a little bit. Then I'm gonna have one more follow up question. So when you're not doing this stuff, when you're not on your laptop and on your phone and developing business relationships and doing all this digital marketing, all that stuff, how do you enjoy spending your time without electronics?
I spend sometimes I actually go out on a walk. I just like go out to see how things are going, or go out to see nature, or do that. Or sometimes I play games too because I mean it's fun.
What games do you like to play?
I had this NBA 2K, it was it's
Oh, but that's
2K15 or something.
that's video games though. That doesn't. That's I'm talking about without digital, without media.
Without the phone.
I think that's
Oh,
hilarious that
oh.
the guy in Africa is like completely addicted to electronics and lives his whole life electronically. That's amazing.
No, I'm more of a tech person because I'm
Yeah,
that kind of
clearly.
person who when anyone has a problem with the phone at home, I get called for like what's going on, or
You get
if
that. You're
there's
the
any kind.
go-to guy, right? You're the
Yeah, any
Yeah, see, that's
electronic
what you're
problem.
known for. Now you're known as that digital marketing media guy. Like, if I got a problem with their stuff, come see you, come see Jason. That's
Yeah,
great.
because even now when like let me say I have a cousin who anytime she has like something with her phone, the first person she calls up is she just gets to me straight and be like, "What's going on with my phone?" And I have to like advise her,
Just
tell her what
dive
to do.
right in.
So
Not know how
I'm
you
more of
doing,
like,
no nothing.
yeah, I'm more of like tech based, always with like my phone or my laptop, and I think that's like because even if you check, Gary Vee had an Ozo and said, but right now his phone is like the most important thing. He put up his passport and said, if someone comes up to like his phone or his passport, he'll give out his passport because he knows what is in his phone. He knows what his phone can carry. He knows what this phone can actually do because we're moving into a world which is more digital. Back in the days, parents used to be like, avoid video games, avoid using your phone, avoid using that. But right now, there are people who make money from playing video games, and parents will be like, play games right now so you could actually be the top in the league to play those games and win those championships. So more likely people are more attached to their phones, and I mean it's people blame. You see people who are like that old, or people who came from the like I can say the 80s, the 70s, they'll be like, oh, the digital age is spoiled, people spend more time on their phones, and people spend more time on these people. Back in the 80s, people spent time on something, newspapers. Parents could actually sit on
TV. It
newspapers
was
without,
TV back then.
yeah,
I mean, they were glued to
newspapers,
the television.
TV.
I was like, staying back from the television. It's always too close. You're spending too much time on TV. And yeah, no, I totally
Yeah.
get it. It makes perfect sense. Well, and the fact that this is kind of a digital marketing conversation, and that's your niche, then that's a great way to wrap things up on. That's a good note to end on. So that's perfect, man. I couldn't ask for a better scenario. Um, Jason, thank you so much for your time. We probably could have gone into a lot more, but we've already blown through well over an hour without even realizing it. So really
Yeah.
appreciate what you're doing. And I really like your example. I'm really impressed, that your mentality, your outlook, this learning mindset, it's so refreshing to see, and to see a young man like yourself just going out there getting after it, man. It's very encouraging, and I love the example that you're setting for other people, because I know that there's people watching, there's people that you don't realize that are watching, that 5 or 10 years from now they're going to tell you about some experiences and about a time where your example impacted them and changed their life, and that's going to be a pretty cool experience for you as you continue down your journey. So keep up the good work, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and if there's ever anything I can do to support you and your cause and your mission and whatever, man, just know I'm here for you.
Thanks very much for having me on the show.
All right, cool, man. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Atlantic Custom Group. For all your home repair and improvement needs, Atlantic Custom Group specializes in the unique and inspiring. From custom libraries and millwork to tree houses and off-grid structures, Atlantic Custom Group can do it all. Renovate your kitchen, remodel your basement, or reinvent your entire home with Atlantic Custom Group. Call now for an appointment, 770-827-7591. Atlantic Custom Group is the official sponsor for the Extraordinary Podcast. So you're still here. Wow. Thanks for sticking around. So, what'd you think? What did I miss? What would you like to know more about? Who would you like to hear on the show? If you stuck around this long, maybe you won't mind giving me some feedback. And don't forget to check out the website, extraordinarypodcast.net, for all the latest episodes. And if you enjoyed the show, please take the time to share with your friends, on social media, or with anyone you think who might enjoy it. And last but not least, if you're ready to start living an extraordinary life, check out 8keystogreat.com, where you can craft your free blueprint to renovate your career, home, or lifestyle. The program is free, but you have to do the work to unlock each key. And finally, if you'd like to speak with me directly, you can book a free 30-minute Zoom call directly through my Calendly link on the contacts page. And in the meantime, check out some of the other exciting interviews with ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Thanks for listening, thanks for sharing, and most of all, thanks for just being you. I'm Nate G, and we'll see you next week.